NFP data was just released, and this is what caused gold to rally. And while most traders think that you should stay away from trading the news, it's actually not true. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can actually plan for a move like this ahead of time. My name is Pavao. I'm the founder of Day Trading University, and I've been trading news events like NFP for 5 years, and I've been doing it live for 3 years. And I'm going to show you my 3-step process that I use before going into any big news days. Now, number 1 is expectations, which is basically just asking, what are the markets expecting? We can find this by looking at an economic calendar to see the forecast. And number 2 is surprise. This is basically just looking at the expectations and then seeing, did it come out higher or did it come out lower? And if so, by how much? And number 3 is bigger picture, which is basically just asking, is this going to impact interest rates? So now let's take my 3-step process and apply it to the NFP data that just came out. This is the actual cheat sheet that I was using while trading this data. You can even see the little screenshot right here of the time that I put this on my computer. The data came out at 8:30 in the morning. This is 7:40, so almost an hour ahead of time was when I created this cheat sheet. Just so you know, there's no funny business of me creating cheat sheets after the markets already had the reaction. This was done in real time. So let's break down this cheat sheet piece by piece. This morning we had 2 pieces of data coming out, NFP and unemployment. NFP stands for non-farm payrolls, and it measures how many jobs were added or lost last month. Then we also had unemployment data being released. And unemployment data just measures the percentage of people who are actively looking for work but can't find a job. Remember, step 1 is market expectations. So the expectations for NFP, non-farm payrolls, was 110,000, where the expectation for unemployment was 4.2%. Now, the first thing that we want to understand is what happens if both of these come out above expected. If NFP comes out higher than expected and unemployment also comes out higher than expected, this would be considered mixed data. When you think about these two things, we have NFP, which is people working essentially, and then unemployment, which is essentially people not working. So if the people working measurement goes up and the people not working, the measurement also goes up. You understand how that could be mixed data? Now, we can still trade that, but for the purposes of this analysis, we don't have to go into mixed data today, thankfully. Ideally, we would get data that did something like this. NFP comes out above expected and unemployment below expected. This would give us a stronger labor market, right? Because you have higher NFP, lower unemployment. Or the opposite, which would be this, NFP coming out lower than expected and unemployment coming out either as expected or above. This would give us a weaker labor market. Does that make sense? So you want to actually have one of them higher and one of them lower. Otherwise, it's mixed. That's why when you look at my cheat sheet here, you can see that at the very top, I have NFP below and unemployment above. These are opposite. These were my expectations based on that. And part 3 is what I call the bigger picture, which is basically just asking, will this impact interest rates? Take a look at this headline that came out right after today's NFP data. This headline right here is a screenshot from our newsfeed inside Day Trading University, and this is what it says. Traders see a 75% chance of, basically it's saying that the Feds are going to cut rates in September versus a 45% chance before. So basically what this is saying is that before the data came out, the markets had a 45% expectation that we were going to cut rates in September. After the data came out, when this headline came out, we were at 75%. If I looking at my terminal right now, we're actually sitting at about 86%. So we're still almost 100% priced in for a rate cut after this NFP data. Remember, we were only at 45% before it came out. So after reading that headline, do you think it will impact interest rates? Yes, of course it will. You literally just saw the headline of the markets pricing in or expecting interest rates right after the data. This is the exact process that I was using to analyze NFP this morning with everyone in Day Trading University, and it's just something that I do when I'm trading any type of data, right? So if this data is telling us more interest rate cuts, lower interest rates is good for gold. So it makes sense when we look at gold and see that it pushed up. When the markets move like this before the actual rate decision, this is what's called pricing in the data. But what about NAS? There's a reason I have this little down arrow and up arrow here is because this data could actually be mixed for equities like NASDAQ, US 30, and SP 500. Because while lower interest rates might also be good for NASDAQ, a weak labor market, which is what we just got from NFP, can also be bad for NASDAQ. That's why you can see right here in my cheat sheet, could trigger market fear, because market fear would actually be bad for NASDAQ and US 30. But interest rate cuts are good for NASDAQ. So you have something that's good for NAS and something that's bad for NAS all in the same time. This is what gives us that back and forth consolidation. So now hopefully it makes sense when you look at gold and you see that it pushed up and it held versus something like NASDAQ, which it spiked up, up, down, and really just kind of consolidated with volume the entire day. When you understand the things that are impacting it, it helps you anticipate this stuff happening ahead of time. I hope you guys find these market breakdowns helpful. I'm obviously not a YouTuber, I'm a trader, so these videos aren't the most polished with crazy effects. I just want to talk about charts and talk about the things that I know that helped me become a profitable trader, and I hope it does the same for you. If there's anything you guys are struggling with, something that you want more information on, I will do that instead of just doing market breakdowns, but just let me know in the comments below and I'd be happy to help.